What's up, everybody?
Yo!
I think the big thing here is what the fuck we're doing. You've been on this journey of digital nomadicy.
Nomadic.
Nomadic.
I'm a nomadic travel. I'm a nomad for a while.
Yeah. So let's just start with just tell the listeners like how you got started, how long you've been doing this, and leading up to this point where we're on this journey together now.
Yeah, it was like something that I always knew I wanted to do. Travel has always been really important to me. I worked at this Indonesian restaurant. Actually, let me take a step back. It was even earlier than that. Like when I was really young, I don't know if you know this or not, but when I was really young, and I swear to God, I have no idea why this happened, but for some reason, I got chosen for this program. I was in like 7th grade. I was like going into 8th grade. I was still in middle school, and most people don't know about this, but Eleanor Roosevelt started this program. It was like a foreign exchange program, but it's not really foreign exchange in the sense of like typical foreign exchange. It's more like you go over to a country or a slew of countries, a continent. It could be Asia, Australia, Europe, South America. I think they do them all over. But she started this program where you go for 30 days or some amount of time, and a big group of kids go. And so you're partnered with maybe, I don't know, like 3 or 4 chaperones. You're chosen for a specific reason. I have no idea why they fucking chose me. I was a terrible student.
Maybe that's why they're like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, this guy needs a little extra help. Throw him in the mix of these goddamn geniuses. So they chose me, and my parents, they're not super wealthy people by any means. I'm very like low middle class. And all the students that went were from around my area, so I actually knew a few of them. But we ended up going to Europe. We did France, Switzerland, Austria, Italy, Germany. We did it for 30 days. And my parents helped me learn the value of the dollar. They were like, hey, we can't afford to send you. It was like a $5,000 trip. And they were like, hey, we can't afford to send you to this individually, just ourselves. So they made me raise the money. And we went to craft shows, and we made these jars. A lot of them were hot chocolate mixes or brownie mixes. We put all the ingredients in the jars, and then I created the labels on what to how to bake it, how to mix it, all these different things. And we went to craft shows and we sold them. Mm-hmm. And I raised about 3/4 of the money, and then they ended up paying for the rest. And then I went 30 days during my 7th grade summer to these countries pretty much by myself. Never been out of the country. My family's never done anything like this. They were like, see you later, bye.
Which countries again?
France, Switzerland, Austria, and Italy. Not just the main sites either. We were on a bus, going through all those places. We weren't flying around. But that included all the transportation costs. It included all the food, all the hotel stays. $5,000 for 30 days. It was
nice.
Pretty crazy, yeah. So we go, and I have a great fucking time. It was super crazy. I was really young, made a lot of mistakes, formatted my camera halfway through it, lost all my photos. I had a journal from every day. It was wild. And then a long gap happened where I became an adult, didn't travel, moved to Chicago. I'm from my small town in Ohio, and I just was stuck at this $4,000 mark where I was making way more money than I ever had made in my life. I thought $4,000 was a lot of money to make every month. I was working at a restaurant in Chicago, back at home, Ohio, paying $500 for rent at the time. I was like, that's a lot of money for rent. I was making $2,000 or so a month with the restaurants there, working at Olive Garden and something. So I go over there, I get comfortable, and then I start eventually working at this Indonesian restaurant. And I don't know why, but my father, he does these vacations he lives in a small village in Ohio. They know everybody. They're all farmers and stuff. One day, he goes on this vacation, a big group of friends, and their kids. It's probably, I think there's 30 or so people that go on these vacations. They get big houses, and they all stay together in North Carolina, in the Outer Banks. He ends up buying me a flight out there so I can just go hang out with them one day. And I got on the plane, and I saw the price of the ticket, and I was like, why the heck am I not doing more of this? And then I get there.
Because it's just so cheap?
Dude, it was so cheap. The flight out there, round trip from Chicago to North Carolina, was probably $150, $250. And yeah, that's a lot of money, but it's not a ton of money. And then I get out there, and I saw how they were interacting with each other. I cried at one moment. I was like, oh, it's so awesome. Felt so refreshed. And then again, I was working at the Indonesia restaurant, picking up where I started, and they were the only restaurant in the United States. They had another branch in Indonesia that started it all. And I'm the kind of guy that just likes to say things out loud that are absolutely crazy, and then now that I've told enough people, I have to do it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happened with Indonesia. I like told enough people that I was gonna go, and that's me like manifesting it. And I went. I spent 30 days in Indonesia. Thought I was gonna backpack that country, like camp everywhere, like I was telling you before. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anybody's been to Indonesia, but it's not like that. It's like a regular country, like everywhere else. I had no idea what was happening. And so I spent 30 days over there doing a bunch of crazy stuff, pretty much by myself. And I come back, and I am just awoke as hell. Like, I know that going back to Chicago isn't it. And I was working a job, and I'd never really... Well, I saw the vision on, like, how to get out. Eventually, I saw myself working independently, but being an artist manager, just as well as I do, is super hard to make money. Working with a bunch of artists, and nobody's making any money, and you're putting in more work than everybody else.
Yep.
And then COVID happened. And then you and I came together, freed up my schedule, I started making more money, things started to come together, and yes, I've got a savings, and I've got lots of financial planning under my belt when it comes down to COVID time, but we built our thing. We worked for a while to raise it up to the point where I felt like, okay, I'm making the money I was making in the restaurant. Even before that, I was making half of that with us, and I thought that's all I really need. And I thought back to what was the MVP amount that I needed to be stable. I was always thinking that throughout it, and then we kept moving up, and I started to make $4,000 and $5,000, surpassed what I was doing in the restaurants, and I bought my father the trip to South Africa. I bought my father a trip to South Africa.
It was before COVID, though.
Before COVID.
Like messed shit up for you.
Yeah, so my father turned 50 in 2020, and he doesn't travel outside the country, so he's never been there. I think maybe when he got like married, they went to Mexico, like the year I was born. And travel to Indonesia, being super inspired, I was like, all right, bet, I'm going to buy you this plane ticket. Because I wanted to go travel with him. With a great father and son trip. So I bought him this trip to South Africa for his birthday, gave it to him on Christmas. COVID happened immediately after that. We couldn't go that year. And then the part about building happened, and then I was ready to go. And so I decided South Africa was going to be my first spot to start all of this. Little known fact that most people don't know is that, like I said, I was, yes, financially stable, savings, had money coming in, everything like that, but I actually went to my bank and was like, hey, can I take out a personal loan? And I took out a personal loan for $10K. My thought is that, okay, I have all this money saved up, but I don't want to touch it. If things happen where it goes askew, things crash and burn tomorrow while I'm away, I'm a real long way away from home. Mm. And I've already left my lease in Chicago. I've left the country. Again, manifesting things like, I've already done this. Like, I can't go back home like a month later and look like a fool. I take out the $10K loan because I think it'll stop me from pulling from my savings. Mm-hmm. And I thought at most I'd take it over a year. So I took it over 12 months. It's $900 a month. I got a pretty decent interest rate. And I thought...
That was just like worst case scenario, really.
Well, that's what I used to pay for everything. Mm-hmm. So I would take the $10K and I'd buy rent, Airbnbs essentially. So I bought the first one for the first 2 months, and then the third one and the fourth one, and at some point in time I was like 4 or 5 months ahead. So I was just generating income while I'd already paid rent. I was 4 or 5 months ahead of schedule and all of that. So it was just extra money that I could continue paying ahead of schedule. And it gave me the confidence that, like, okay, I have the next 4 months to make money, and I've already paid this. Now all I have to do is pay that $900, which is super easy when you make 4 or 5K, and the money on the ground when you're going to buy food, groceries, whatever it might be, is really cheap, much more affordable than the United States. And that was it. And then once I got there, I was like, oh shit, this is like actually really easy.
Yeah. I think the bulk buying ahead of time is something that was a jolt for me coming in here. It's like I'm used to in Chicago paying $1,000 in rent just the same time every month, and it just like drains you differently. You move differently.
Yeah,
it's hard to explain, even though it's the same. Honestly, sometimes rent is a little bit more because we're doing the Airbnbs, which you don't have to do that. You can absolutely go the backpackers route.
Totally,
it was a little bit more, but still, I felt a lot more free because we're paid up till April right now.
Yeah,
something like that. This is great. This is all going towards savings or investments, or hopefully you paid off that loan by now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was paid off in advance. Not only did it help me like travel, but it also helped my credit. Like, it was a no-brainer where it allowed me to benefit to travel, but also benefit like me financially in the sense of like credit and set me up for future things too. It took some time to be able to take 10K, but 10K personal loan is actually, many people might not know this, but actually 10K personal or even 5K is pretty simple. Just bank with one bank for a long period of time. When I was planning this in early 2020, 2021, like I changed banks because I talked to them about the benefit of this. Like I was talking a few years ahead of schedule with them, and they said, yeah, move over to this bank. You have a repetitive cycle of incoming deposits. We see what your purchasing habits are, and then we can probably issue you something pretty easily. And so I just banked with them for a year and a half or so, give or take, and it was really easy to pull, if I wanted. I actually went in there for 5K. They were like, hey, like, you want 10K? And I was like, I mean, okay, like, if you say so. And then, yeah, man. And now it's just, I'm saving more money than I've ever saved in my life. I'm investing more money than I've ever saved in my life. And it's way more free. And so it's just been a consistent cycle of, at this point, I just don't know how I'm going to, or if I even want to go back.
Yeah, and just as we're, like, out here, just, like, learning about even more tax benefits and exclusions and things that we can do to improve that, and new countries are opening new digital nomad laws every damn day, it seems like.
Yeah.
Who knows, it might get better for us or it might get worse.
Yeah,
Only time will tell.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
yeah, that's leading you up to now, 2024, where I, just for a year, was working in the States, watching you move. Oh, this is interesting. I've never really thought about this. I've always really enjoyed travel, but I never thought about doing it for a long period of time. Yeah, I think for me it was like I think I needed the rip off a Band-Aid moment to get out of my 9-to-5, and this was it. It was like I was working my day job for 10 years, worked for Apple, and I liked the stability, but I just needed some kind of change. So seeing you just move for a year plus inspired me to be like, cool, this is the time to do it. Like, you're only working for my company. Like, if you can do it, I think I can do it too. A lot of, I guess, motivation and just willingness to jump into it, because you definitely did. But yeah, so now we're here, 2024. We're in Medellin, Colombia. And we're 8 days into this bitch, right? Yep, January 8th.
We got here on the 2nd, so 7 days, really.
Yeah, so I'm 7 days fresh. I'm a little baby nomadic virgin. And we've been having fun so far. I think mainly we've been just like posted up, getting used to things. We've been here before. I traveled here for 3 weeks. You were here for 3.5 months.
3 months.
91 days. Don't tell the government. 91 days over it. But yeah, I think we just wanted to throw some kind of documentation together just to document our journey. We get hit up a lot about like people wanting this travel, but they're overwhelmed with what it takes. Like, oh, is it too much money? Is it scary? Is it dangerous? Can I do it with kids? Like, all of these questions that we don't know the answers fully to yet, but as we learn, we'll throw them out here. That's the reason for this creation.
Yeah, I think there's two things that I always hear, and like one of them is about routine, right? It's like, how do you balance? I guess they're similar, actually, now that I think about it. What does your life look like day to day? And I was telling you, maybe like when you arrived in South Africa, there were periods of time I'd walk out my door, I'd be working, doing A, B, and C, and then I'd walk outside and I'd be like, oh shit, that's right, I'm in South Africa. Like, I'm in a whole other continent in a country that I know like one person that's been there.
Yeah.
And I like, you forget, because routine, I still have the same routine that I had in Chicago. Wake up, I haven't been doing it since you've been here, please don't yell at anybody, but I'm not like doing my yoga routine, my meditation routine, but I do have that in the morning. Like, I do those every day or every other day. Like, I go to work, I read my books, I do the same thing, I relax, I watch television, do the same kinds of things. I go to the parks, go out to restaurants. Those are the same types of things I do everywhere, and I would do in Chicago. The other side of that is they just cost a lot less. It's nothing to the economy, but ultimately, like, just making US dollars makes it a lot more approachable to be in a lot of other places. So routine, like, still exists so much that you actually forget that you're somewhere almost entirely different, so far away from family and friends, in an exciting, like, different culture that pushes you. My brother was here. Obviously I like buying my family trips from this story too, but like, my brother had never been on an airplane before, and I bought him his first trip when I was down in Brazil, and he came down there, and one day I remember him saying to me, he was like, man, like, I feel stimulated back home in Ohio, but Like, all you need to do is walk out your door, and it's super confusing. I speak a little Spanish, but I'm not like super conversational. And I know Colombia because I've spent some time here, but in Brazil, for instance, or a lot of places that I go to for the first time, I don't know anything. I'm not doing research. I'm just showing up and immersing myself. And he was saying that's crazy and also crazy cool, because I can have a routine, but also literally walk outside and immediately stimulate myself. And push my boundaries. And then the second thing is like, how do you balance the ability to travel and feel like it's not a vacation? Because when people travel, they feel like they need to go, like we did in Egypt. And I can't do that. I can't do that financially. I can't literally make an adventure out of every day. And two, I just don't have that kind of time because I need to work and do the things that I love to do, in, like, work-wise. So,
I think the answer to the second one is the first one.
Routine, 100%.
Like, build a routine. Okay, maybe it's the weekday. Like for us, it seems like it's building out where it's like the weekdays where we're working, we're maybe staying in for dinner, we're doing our thing, maybe do a few social events out. But we stick to like having fun, adventures, maybe drinking a little too much on the weekends. Maybe that's something different depending on what job you have. But to me, to jump in on that, I think the answer to the second one is the first one. Is like the way you balance that is building some kind of a routine.
Something. You have to. Just find your own routine and it becomes super easy, I think, to some extent. Because
challenging is definitely, it's not... Everybody wants to sit here and be like, oh, dude, just being a nomad is easy. No, it's not. It's definitely challenging. The thing I hear from people a lot is like the loneliness that you experience. And that's something that you definitely, I don't know if you experienced that per se, but like you were doing this alone for a while.
Year and a half.
And I think that's what keeps people, people are single, they don't want to travel with their family, but they still want to like do something. It's like the loneliness aspect, I know is a big part.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It can be depending upon your personality type, I think. 100%. But I've always been this like independent person. Moving to Chicago from Ohio, my family's all farmers, except for my mom and my dad, essentially. But everybody's a farmer or lives in the country. Maybe my father like lives down a quarter-mile drive in a log cabin in the middle of the woods. I'm the black sheep that took the jump to Chicago, and it was a huge risk back then. It was like a decade or so ago.
It seems like nothing now.
Yeah.
Drive my car 12 hours to Chicago.
Yeah. It's 5 hours, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And when I was doing that, like I was going over there every other weekend or every other couple of days just to make that happen. And then I was over there, and when I was in Chicago, I like told my friends and family to come see me, but they couldn't. So they all work regular jobs, and you can't make the 5-hour drive because it's so long. Like when I lived in Ohio, I'm not driving 3 hours to go to another city. Nah, you can just come to me. And so being in these places, like you have a couple of choices. Either A, you get really comfortable with yourself and learn to tell yourself yes, and learn to accept that things can move slow and they can move fast and that you're in control of everything. And you just have to be content with that. You have to really say, yeah, I feel like shit today. I'm not 100%, right? There's posts that we've had on the page where it's like entrepreneurship is not 100% every single day. It's understanding that it's sometimes a violent roller coaster. And
violent.
Yeah. And so that's the same with travel. It's some days you're going to wake up hungover, tired, and not wanting to do anything. Other days, you're going to miss your family. You feel like you need to go home and this isn't for you. And then other days, you're going to go out and adventure and you're going to say, all right, this is exactly why I'm doing it. And you have to give yourself permission to feel those things and realize that it's okay just to hang out on the couch and order McDonald's in and watch your favorite TV show. Like, it's totally fine.
You don't got to tell them what we did all weekend, okay, bro? Come on. But this beautiful city behind us.
And then, like, on the flip side, like, I've also met friends around the world. I have tons of friends I still stay in contact with from a ton of different countries. I once heard this, like, quote, is once you start to become a nomad, you never feel quite at home anywhere. It's that you always...
Sick. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. You leave a small piece of you everywhere.
Yeah.
I love Argentina. I love Egypt. I love Italy. Like, I love South Africa. I love Colombia. Like, I love a lot of places. And I love a lot of people that are in those places. And I think that's okay. Like, I'm perfectly content knowing that I can love a lot of things. Like, I'm in an open relationship with a lot of countries.
He's in a poly relationship with the world, everyone. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm dead.
On that note, yeah, I think that's a good starter for us. Stay tuned. If this sounds interesting, what do you want to leave us with?
Hold on. I want you to leave us with something. Over the next 12 months, the next year, because we're at the beginning of the year, what's the biggest thing you want to pull out of all this? Or hoping to pull out of it, or experience? Could be internally, externally, could be tangible, intangible, what hard question, but...
Yeah, to be more at peace with the present moment. It's always just an ongoing, not struggle, an ongoing goal is to be more at peace with what is actually happening, whether it's terrible or whether we are jumping out of a plane in South Africa. The highs and the lows. As you said, that violent roller coaster, I want to be at peace at the peaks and the valleys. And I think that's something you can achieve by not traveling, but I prefer not to. I want to accomplish that here, and we'll see if this journey leads us there.
I used to always tell people back in Chicago, like, they'd always say, hey, you trying to come out for a beer? Do 1, 2, and 3. I'd be like, actually, I'd just rather have that beer somewhere else. Not that I don't love Chicago, but I can also have a beer right behind me. Yeah. You should just look at the view.
Just look at it.
Just look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's yours in the next 12 months?
Damn.
Didn't think you'd get hit with your own question.
I didn't. And honestly, like I told you, my guy, I don't know. It's a culmination of a lot of things. But I'm the happiest and most excited I've ever been in my entire life. I'm comfortable. I'm confident. I'm working and doing the things I love. I'm traveling. There's something that I've been quoting recently is that we all have dreams and aspirations, people we look up to, and things we want to achieve. But taking a step back and realizing that you're already living somebody else's dream is pretty humbling. And honestly, maybe doing this is not a good representation of what I'm about to say, but I would like to talk less about this to the people that I care about and try to listen more. I'm a really good understander. I feel like I have a good, strong sense of empathy, seeing as many cultures and experiences that I've had, but often I forget or have difficulty relating those to a regular person. Drake said one thing that I've quoted a lot is, if you're telling stories and it feels like you're bragging, you're in the wrong friend group. And yes, I definitely believe that, but I want to be able to show everyone that this is possible, and then also be able to understand where you're at and hear your stories and understand that yes, I'm having a great time, but how can I involve what your experiences are into my own life? You might be 1,000 miles away, but I want you to know that I genuinely care. And I started that at the end of last year. I just woke up and I was like, all right, I need to start connecting more deeply, because I experienced deeply, and now I want to connect more deeply, which is really hard in nomadic travel. You are here for 2 months, 3 months, and then you gotta go. It's hard to connect deeply. Make good friends, get in relationships, and I think that's my goal. Is I want to bring what I feel, the confidence and all those things to people, and have them be like, that dude's a good dude. Not that I don't think they think I'm a good dude, but I want them to leave feeling inspired, hungry,
but
and
also
they
not
listened.
thinking you're bragging. Or
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
Or that I'm quoting an actual person that said this, or that it's your personality type.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
You know that that's not true.
Exactly.
That's good of you to, I guess, realize that.
Trying to be aware.
And you started that by saying, oh, it's not a good representation of doing this. Do the talking here. Do the listening there. So I just bottle it up here and then shut the fuck up. Just kidding.
Copy that. Understood. I'm with it. Yeah, that's a very good point, though.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Love that.
Hell yeah.
Cool, y'all. Subscribe for more. We're going to be back here in Medellin and very soon in other places. I think here's the big plan for 2024, at least it's right now. Medellin, we're going to go to Mexico City for a few weeks. Going to get a little pit stop back in the States for some personal stuff. And then over to Africa and tons more over there. So keep listening to figure out where these bros go. Bye.
See ya!